because we have glorious sunshine for the first time in ages, but because I've just picked up my new car and I am absolutely buzzing. I bought this car from DT Performance. I've been following those guys on Instagram for quite some time now, and kind of, I think, in the back of my head, I'd already decided that I kind of wanted to buy a car from them, so it was very convenient when they got this car into stock in essentially my dream spec. What I wanted to do, I wanted to record this video because this literally is the first drive. Unfortunately, I pretty much got in the car, drove 5 minutes, and now we're on the M42, so I can't really exploit what this car is really good at. So far, I've realised that actually I have no idea how the BMW infotainment system works. No idea. I've had a tyre pressure monitor come on. It says the tyre's a little bit low. I don't think it's going down. It's holding steady at 1.8 bar, but the others are 2.3 bar, so it does need some air, which I seem to discover, and I might be wrong. Bear in mind, I've had this car all of an hour. When the tyre pressure comes up, it stops you from putting the car, well, one, it limits you to 80 miles an hour, which is fine, because of course the speed limit on this motorway is 70 miles an hour. However, it does also stop you from putting the car into Sport and Sport Plus, which is two of the main things I want to do right now. So I'm going to need to find a service station pretty sharpish just to top this air up. What's pretty cool I've noticed as well is that it actually does give you the temperatures for the tyre, which is probably going to be important for this because this car is fitted with Michelin Pilot Super Sports, I think. If I get that wrong, I'll correct it with a little, I'll correct it at the top of the screen right now. And so these are definitely more summer tyres than winter tyres. I mean, my old car had Michelin Pilot 4S's on it, and they're a good all-round tyre. These, from everything I've read, have said definitely more of a summer tyre, so getting heat into them is definitely important. But first impressions then, after 10 minutes of driving, this car is great. I know everybody says, oh, I love my new car, like I'm so in love with it already. I won't say that yet. I mean, I'm in love with the way it looks. The driving is a bit weird, and it's not because the car's weird, but you know that feeling when you first get a new car and you know the seating position's not the same as the old one, the controls aren't all necessarily in the same place, you don't know how to use the infotainment, it's all that kind of stuff. However, like, already the noise for me is amazing. I'll come back to the noise because it was an important consideration for why I bought this over anything else. Just from this first 10-15 minutes of driving, I can already just say what a great car it is in terms of just daily ability. No, that's not even a word. The ability for it to be a daily. I've just been driving this so far, mainly because of the tyre issue. Just been driving this in comfort, in auto, relatively low speeds, and it's an easy, nice car to drive. Steering is super responsive. Driving position, way better than the Civic. I can get way lower. I should probably put my sat nav back up so I know where I'm going. The seating position, I can get way lower than the Civic, which I love already. There was always that thing with the FK2, was the seat was just that touch too high, and you felt like you were sitting a bit on it rather than in it, whereas this being a coupe, you feel very low slung, and I don't even think the seat's always all the way down. Okay, it is all the way down now. Again, I'll need to spend some time driving this car to make sure I'm in the right position. It feels like I'm kind of in the right position at the moment, but
prepare to keep right.
Probably need some adjusting. And the cockpit is just a nice place to be. It's a bit of a step up from the FK2. Of course, you've got a lot of leather-looking stuff, which isn't really leather, but like the Alcantara on the door panels, the blue stitching on the seat. The wheel in this car, which I'll come back to when I start talking about the spec. And you know, I like the infotainment screen so far. No idea how to work it, as I've already said, but well, I'm sure we'll get there. So let's start by going through the spec. This is a 2018 BMW M2 LCI, as in it's a facelift. It's Long Beach blue, and this one's got a few of the kind of things that you'd really want to get if you can do. digital, but they are actually analog. It's an analog clock which sits behind a screen which is backlit, which makes them look very digital, and then there's digital elements, of course, at the bottom section of that screen. You have the updated iDrive, which is ID6. I think that's most of the facelift options, although, and I might be wrong, the dash in here looks different to the other M2 that I looked at like a year ago or so, which was not an LCI, so there or thereabouts. The car is Long Beach blue. It's the only colour that I wanted. When I decided that I wanted an OG M2, it had to be Long Beach blue. I mean, you only have a choice of black, white, Long Beach blue, or I should probably know the names for these, but black, white, blue, or grey. And so it was always going to be Long Beach blue. Now, probably questions that some people might ask: why an M2? Why not an M2 comp? And maybe why not an M3 or an M4? So the M2 comp is a newer car, so let me deal with that separately. But let's start by talking about the M3 and the M4. About 18 months ago, and I started thinking about an M car. Maybe even a year ago, this actually happened. I went to look at an M3 at my local BMW dealership, and at the time, actually, they had an M3 and an M4. And this is a really good point because it makes it simple to dismiss the M4. I think in isolation, the M4 looks great, but when you put it up next to an M3, it doesn't have any shape. And what I mean by that is because it's such a long car, the sides look very slab-sided. You don't really get the haunch of the arches like you do on the M3 or the M2. And when you see them side by side, there's just no comparison. For me, the M3 looks better. Now, I drove that M3 that I had in. It was in Silverstone grey. Now, I think they just call it Silverstone, which is a very light grey blue colour. It also had the Silverstone interior, which is like white. Lovely spec. Didn't have any exterior carbon. But what I will say is that it's a different car for me. It's such a big car, but it feels very big when you drive it. Or, and I hate to say it like this, almost a bit boat-like. And although yes, there's plenty of pluses. I know the M2 doesn't have the M2 style seats. They don't come with the M2 style mirrors. That's, you know, there's a couple of things. In some ways, some people say, oh, it's very much like a 240, and it is, until you drive a 240 or a 235, and then you drive an M2, and you can definitely tell the difference. The M2 is more of the same size as the previous generation of M cars. So the E36, the E46, they're more similar sizes, whereas the M3 has just become so big now. It's a big car. And there's a couple other things that also stop me going through an M3 and M4. One, and I'm not saying I bought this to be the most efficient car in the world, because I know it won't be, but it is pretty good on a long run, on a motorway run. The twin turbo thing, a little bit less fuel efficient. The other massive thing for me is the sound. Now, I'm not saying the M3 and M4 don't sound good, but to me, it doesn't sound like a 3-litre straight six. It doesn't have a sound, and a lot of people will probably jump on me for that. And I know the reasons why. You've got two turbos muting the sound, and you've also got unequal length headers, which is the reason why it doesn't sound great. And if you then go for the expense of changing those things, getting equal length headers, then you can make them sound a lot better. But that's a lot of money when you can buy an OG M2 like this with the N55 engine, which sounds good, especially when you've got an MPERFORMANCE exhaust. So for me, that's the reasons why I bought it. I like the smaller size. I didn't need a bigger car. I like the fact that it was a coupe, but it still retained the kind of the M shape. This thing's got really wide heaps. So I look in this rear view mirror, I can see that rear arch. I could say to myself that I definitely need to be careful whenever I'm parallel parking this thing, because sheer wide girl. The car is a good base for me because, one, it's in great condition. Credit to Tom for the prep that they've done down there, and they're definitely not paying me to say that. I'll say that for free. The guys have been brilliant. Tom's been brilliant. We've been dealing with Tom predominantly. Has been brilliant throughout the whole process. But this example, like I was saying, this example came up. It's an 18 plate car. LCI, less than 12,000 miles, although by the time I get it home it might be over 12,000 miles. The car's been into BMW for a fluid change. It also had a recall done at the same time, something to do with geometry changes on the suspension. Don't know what that's about. I might have to Google that and see what that's about. And also to check some of the service intervals on iDrive. We thought it'd been incorrectly reset, but it turns out they haven't. Such a good base for me, and this car I'm going to be keeping for quite some time. But what also sold it to me is the extras on this car. First off, you've got the M-Performance exhaust, and my god, when we started it in the dealership, I didn't realise. I know everyone knows that BMWs have a ridiculous cold start, so loud. Not quite sure what my neighbours are going to think of that when we go back to normal and I need to go to the office at 5 o'clock in the morning. Very costly option for BMW, over £2,000, and of course it's got the carbon tips with the little silver M cutout, or the big cutout to show the M. Love that. So we've got M-Performance carbon pack. Now I don't know if it's a full kit or not. This all happened really quickly. I wish I'd done a bit more research for shooting this video. However, I just wanted this to be as raw as possible. So it consists of two sections on the front bumper, which sweep up the front. I don't know what you call them. No idea. Like a splitter, but not all the way across. On the side, we've got the kind of fins that come up the side skirt, which I didn't like when I saw the picture. I was like, I'm going to change those to a full kind of side skirt. But now I've seen them, I'm not so sure. I actually really like it. It's also got the rear diffuser and the trunk spoiler, which again, I was kind of set on the idea that I wouldn't get one with that, because I kind of like the look of the M2 when it hasn't got one. It's cleaner, but with this car, with all of the carbon parts, it kind of all ties together, and now actually I do like it. But who knows, maybe later on we'll go for something a bit more aggressive, or maybe I want to tone it down and we'll go back to the original boot strip. The final kind of upgrade part is the M-Performance wheel, which again, when Tom sent me the pictures, I was like, it's nice, it's nicer than the standard wheel. However, I think I'm just going to get roll steering wheels to do me a full Alcantara one. But now, having seen it in the flesh, actually I've completely changed my mind. We've got blue and red stitching on the inside, blue centre marker, it's leather at the top and the bottom, and then we've got Alcantara on the side, and it just feels nice. It's a proper chunky wheel, and I really like that. So that, I think, is going to stay. The only thing I might change is the paddles. Because I've not really been on a nice road yet, I've not really had a chance to use them, but I can tell that they are, I thought they were going to be plastic, but they feel like they're metal. I don't know, what I might do is go for some matte carbon to match the rest of the interior trim paddles. I don't know when, because these things are just, for what they are ridiculously expensive. Right, so we're now in sport for the first, well, not the first time, the second time, but now we've sorted out the tyre thing, so let's see what this is about. Oof. That sounds sick. Oh my god, the gearbox is just another level when it's in sport. It's so snappy. I was like, oh, maybe the gearbox isn't as quick as I thought when I was driving around in comfort. But this thing, like when it's in sport, is so quick. Look, and change, downshifts. I definitely want to respect this car a little bit and not just immediately come to a tight 90-degree bend, slam it into second gear, stomp on the accelerator, because I'm probably just going to end up in the nearest available ditch. So far, it just feels nice, and it feels special, and that's what I was really hoping for. It feels like a special car to drive. What's also going to be special is my fuel bill, because I've not even been ragging this, and I swear I've used just wanted to do is get my first impression of driving this car. I'm going from a 2-litre Civic, 2-litre turbo Civic, to a 3-litre straight 6 turbo BMW, and I think my personality, my tone of voice sometimes doesn't really portray my excitement. I've been so excited for this all week. I struggled to sleep last night because I just kept waking up. I was worried that something was going to go wrong, or the car wouldn't be as nice as Tom had told me it was, and I'd end up not getting it. I didn't want to build myself up, but please, if it doesn't come across on camera, I'm just over the moon with this. I'm just over the moon. This is such a dream for me. Like I said, it's my dream car. It's my dream attainable car. If money was no object, I'd be down the Porsche dealer buying a GT3 or a GT4 or a GT3 RS. But right now, where I am, this is the dream for me. My own M car. I can't wait to kind of get started with it, making my own. Even just the first wash, I'm getting it absolutely perfect. But there are mods coming. Not ordered anything yet because I didn't want to jinx it. There are things that I want to do to this car straight away. Should I say it now? I'm going to slam it on air. No, that's a joke. Definitely not my style. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. And please, if you found it the least bit enjoyable, give it a like. It really helps the channel. And subscribe if you want to see more BMW content. I've got loads planned of this, and see, this is kind of fresh start for me, a fresh start for the channel in terms of a car that I can enjoy and do things with.